The moment my daughter screamed that the best Christmas gift would be me gone forever, the fork slipped from my hand and hit the plate with a sound sharper than her words. "I mean it." "Mama," Morena said, pointing across the table at me as if I were a trespasser in my own life. "You leaving would fix everything. My name is Elyria May Hollander, 67 years old, and I have lived long enough to know when someone's anger is real. Hers was, it wasn't heat of the moment rage, bus. It was cold, practiced, prepared." Caleb tried to speak. "Morena, stop. It's Christmas." "No," she snapped. "She smothers everything. This house, this family, none of it can breathe because of her." I felt the room shrink. But I didn't argue. Not one word. The calm came over me the way a storm settles before lightning hits. I stood up slowly. My chair hardly made a sound. Morena frowned. "Where are you going now?" Another dramatic exit. "No," I said quietly. "Just to my room." I walked down the hallway. Hearing Caleb mutter her name again, hearing her hiss back at him, hearing nothing from her boyfriend Dylan, who always stayed silent when the truth sat too close. Inside my room, I closed the door and reached for my small wooden box in the dresser. Months earlier, I had separated every important document I owned, sensing the shift in Marina's tone, in her eyes, in the way she asked about bank balances with too much interest. I sat on the edge of the bed and began moving quickly, my hands steady. I called the credit company and canceled the shared card she used freely. I transferred the joint savings into the protected personal account I had opened in secret. I locked my birth certificate, property papers, and retirement forms into my travel case. Then I packed 2 dresses, 1 sweater, the shoes my late husband once praised, enough to walk out without looking back. Before leaving, I wrote a short note, slipped it into an envelope, and placed it right in the center of the dining table. I walked out of that house without raising my voice, because deep down I already knew something had been wrong for weeks, and tonight only confirmed it. What I wrote inside that envelope would change everything. When love turns into entitlement, the shift is so quiet you only notice it once the damage is done. I remember raising Marina alone after she turned 9. Her father, Alden, collapsed during a late shift at the port, and the grief hit her like a wave she never learned to swim through. She latched onto anger instead of healing. "It was your fault," she once whispered when she was 13, her voice shaking. "You made him work so hard." I tried to hold her shoulders. "He worked because he loved you." She pulled away. "You always have excuses." Years later, my son Caleb grew into a different kind of person entirely. He lived in Asheville, called me every Sunday, asked what I had eaten for dinner, offered to help with anything even when he barely had time for himself. When he visited, Morena rolled her eyes at his kindness. "He acts like the perfect son," she muttered once. "Makes me look bad." "No one is competing," I said. But she was already walking away. There were smaller moments too. Like the day she stood in the kitchen and said, "You should add my name to the deed. It would avoid complicated things when you get older." I set down the dish towel. "I am not doing that." She narrowed her eyes. "You do not trust your own daughter." That was the first time I felt a chill run through me. More signs followed. She started asking for my bank statements. She claimed she needed transparency so she could help manage things. I refused. That same month, I noticed 2 pieces of mail missing an insurance statement and a retirement notice. When I asked if she had seen them, she shrugged without looking up from her phone. "Maybe you misplaced them," she said. But I knew I had not. A week before Christmas, I found an opened envelope on the counter, one addressed to me, not her, with the papers slid back inside at the wrong angle. She claimed she had no idea how it got there. All of it piled together like quiet footsteps leading to one final doorway. Walking away had not been running. It had been choosing something safer. What if leaving was the only way to stop something darker from happening? What happens when the person you love starts preparing your downfall long before you notice the first crack? The morning after I left, I went straight to the credit union on Meeting Street. I sat across from a young clerk named Davina, who looked at me with patient eyes. "I need to check activity on my accounts." I said, "All of them." She typed quietly, then frowned. "Mrs. Hollander, did you try to access your retirement account yesterday?" "No," I said. "I have not touched that account in months." "Well," she whispered, lowering her voice, "there were 3 attempts last night. Wrong security answers." I gripped the edge of the desk. 3 attempts from where? From a device already linked to your online banking, she hesitated. "Likely someone in your home." I closed my eyes. The numbness felt like cold water rising to my neck. Davina continued scrolling. "There is something else. 2 weeks ago, this was submitted." She turned the monitor slightly. "An application requesting co-ownership of my house. My name typed correctly. The second owner line left blank. I could barely breathe. This was never mine." I said. "It is unsigned," she assured me. "But it is in your file." I left the bank and walked straight to Rayford McMillan's porch. Ray had been my neighbor for almost 30 years and practiced law until his 70s. When he opened the door, he studied my face. "Elyria, you look rattled," he said. "Come in. Tell me." I told him everything: the login attempts, the co-ownership application, the missing mail. Ray's jaw tightened. "Show me the document." He examined the printed copy I brought from the bank. His voice turned sharp. "This is not a harmless clerical issue. Someone gathered enough of your personal information to submit preliminary transfer forms. If it had been signed, the process could have moved forward without your knowledge." I felt my stomach twist. "So she tried to take the house. She tried to start the process." He corrected gently, "Meaning she has been preparing this for a while." Fear and clarity rose together like twins. If Morena was willing to scream at me on Christmas, there was no telling what she was willing to do behind closed doors. How many warning signs had I excused, softened, or simply forgiven because she was my daughter? I checked into a small inn in Mount Pleasant under my full name. The woman at the desk, Mrs. Carter, handed me a key and said, "If you need anything, just tap the bell." I nodded, grateful for the warmth in her voice. Something my own home had been missing for months. Ray called that afternoon. I talked to some people downtown. He said, "You need to hear this in person." I met him outside the inn. He looked troubled, the way men look when they know they are about to hurt you with the truth. "Elyria," he began. "I went to the clerk's office, ran your name, checked submissions, inquiries. This is getting uglier." My chest tightened. "Tell me." Before Ray could answer, a young woman stepped out of a parked car and approached us. She wore a badge that read, "Rosalind Paralegal." "You must be Mrs. Hollander," she said softly. "Mr. McMillan asked me to verify something." She hesitated. "Your daughter came to our office about 1 month ago." Ray's face hardened. "Tell her what you told me." Rosalind swallowed. "She asked how someone could start a petition to declare an elderly parent mentally unfit. She said it was for your protection. But when we explained the process, she seemed impatient, almost angry that it required evaluations." My knees weakened. Ray caught my arm. Rosalind continued. "She left with an information packet, and she wasn't alone. A man was with her." "Dylan," I whispered. "Her boyfriend." Ray nodded grimly. "I did some digging. He has outstanding debt from a failed business deal. He has defaulted loans, unpaid credit cards, and one incident where he tried to take out a loan using someone else's information." A cold ache spread across my ribs. "I let her bring him into my house. I let him eat at my table." Ray's voice softened. "Elyria, None of this is your fault. But the guilt still rose. I kept giving and giving. I thought loving her meant carrying everything. He shook his head. Loving someone does not mean surrendering your life. For the first time in years, something inside me steadied hard, clear, and immovable. Morena's outburst on Christmas was not a slip of emotion. It was the sound of a plan reaching its breaking point. What truth could cut deeper than my daughter's words? Only the truth she would read in my handwriting. Morena found the envelope early the next morning. Caleb told me later how it happened, how she walked into the kitchen, saw it lying in the center of the table, and froze. "What is this?" she muttered. Caleb shrugged. "She left last night. Maybe that explains it." Morena tore the flap open. Her eyes moved fast over the page. "Morena, all shared accounts are closed. All cards in your name are canceled. Your access to my finances has ended, and I know what you are trying to do. Elyria." She crumpled the paper in her fist. "What does she mean? What is this supposed to be?" Caleb stepped closer. "What did you do?" "Nothing," she snapped. "She's being dramatic again." Dylan came down the stairs, rubbing his eyes. "What's wrong?" "She left me this," Morena hissed, shoving the paper at him. He read it, then looked up sharply. "You said she knew nothing." "She did not," Morena shouted. She must have guessed. Or someone told her something." Caleb folded his arms. "Told her what? You keep saying things that do not make sense." Morena turned away, panic tightening her voice. "I need to call her. She dialed my number. It rang. No answer." She tried again. Still nothing. "Call from your phone," Dylan urged. "She might pick up." "I already did." Marina's hands were shaking. She is not answering. By noon, she had called me 16 times. Every call went straight to voicemail. Caleb finally spoke. "Morena, if you were doing something to her, something with money or documents, you better say it now." She glared at him. "Do not accuse me of anything." But her voice cracked, and she did not know the worst part, the part I had left with Ray before I walked out. A notarized letter, filed, timed, locked, timed. A letter that would automatically trigger an investigation into fraud, coercion, and property interference if anything happened to me. When someone realizes the person they controlled is no longer under their thumb, their next move tells you exactly who they are. Why does the truth always seem to arrive at the exact moment your fear has already begun to settle into certainty? My phone rang just after sunrise. Caleb's name appeared on the screen. He said as soon as I answered. "Morena showed up at my place last night. I sat up in the small inn bed." "What did she say?" "She was crying." He replied. "Said you abandoned her. Said you took money that belonged to the family. Said you were planning to give everything to me." I closed my eyes. "And you believed that?" "No," he said firmly. "Not for 1 second. I have seen her pull this before. When she was 20, she told Aunt Lorraine I stole her car keys. Turned out she hid them in her purse to make it look like I was unreliable. She has always twisted things when she is scared." His voice carried frustration more than anger. "Ma, what is going on?" "She is spinning stories left and right." Before I could answer, another call buzzed through. A number from the bank. "Caleb, hold on a moment." I answered. "This is Elyria Hollander." A man spoke carefully. "Mrs. Hollander, this is Martin Alvarez from the fraud department. We received a suspicious call last night. Someone claimed to be you, requesting to reset your authentication questions." My breath caught. "What information did they give? Your address, last 4 digits of your retirement account, and your former employer?" Enough to sound convincing, but they failed 2 verification steps. I felt the blood drain from my face. "Thank you for notifying me." When I switched back to Caleb, my voice trembled. "Someone tried to impersonate me last night." Ma, he said quietly, if you had stayed in that house, she might have pushed you to sign something. A power of attorney. Anything. The silence stretched. Come stay with me, he said. I will drive down tonight. I cannot yet, I whispered. There are things I need to handle first. He exhaled, heavy and protective. Just tell me where you are. I will check in every few hours. I gave him the address. His voice softened. I am with you, Ma. No matter what she tries. The line went quiet. But the truth stayed loud. I needed to learn how to protect myself from my own child. What do you say to the daughter who plotted an attack on your life? Not with violence, but with documents. Ray and I were reviewing the bank report in his living room when a car screeched outside. The door flew open before he could reach it. Marina stormed in. So this is where you are hiding. Her eyes were wild, rimmed red. You just walk out and let me find some stupid letter on the table. Ray stepped forward. You were not invited in. Marina. Oh, shut up, she snapped at him, then turned back to me. You abandoned your own daughter on Christmas. What kind of mother does that? I held my ground. The kind who finds out her daughter tried to access her retirement account. Her face twitched. I do not know what you are talking about. And the co-ownership application for my house, I continued, filed 2 weeks ago. Using information only someone inside my home could know. That was not me, she said quickly. Ray lifted a folder. It was submitted from your address. The clerk confirmed it. Marina's jaw clenched. But she pushed on. You are making things up. Dylan and I never... Her phone buzzed in her hand. She hit the screen too fast, and a voice message suddenly played out loud. Dylan's voice. Clear, unmistakable. Once she signs the voluntary transfer, we can refinance everything. Just keep pushing. She will crack eventually. Ray's eyebrows rose. Voluntary transfer. Interesting choice of words. Marina fumbled to stop the recording, her fingers shaking. That is taken out of context. You do not know anything. Yes, I said softly. I do, and I am done pretending I do not. Ray's voice turned cold. Marina, if you step 1 inch closer or raise your voice again, I will call the police. Fraud. Attempted impersonation. Attempted property interference. Take your pick. Marina's expression collapsed. Her anger melted into frantic breathing. Mom, please, she cried, grabbing the back of a chair for balance. You cannot cut me off. You cannot leave me with nothing. You need what you think you are entitled to, I said. She sank to the floor, sobbing. But it was not sorrow. It was panic, the kind a person feels when their plan finally slips through their fingers. When someone cries, it is not always grief. Sometimes it is the sound of a scheme crumbling. When you spend a lifetime giving, the first real no feels like a door closing on a version of yourself that should have been gone years ago. Ray set the papers on the table between us. Elyria. These protective orders will keep her from touching anything tied to your name. No financial authority, no property claims, no emergency access. I looked at the signatures already notarized. Let's finish it. As I signed, my hand felt steady, almost unfamiliar. Ray watched me carefully. You are sure you do not want to return to the house, even briefly? No, I said. That place stopped being my home the moment she decided I was nothing more than a signature she needed. A soft chime sounded from Ray's phone. He glanced at it, then exhaled sharply. You need to see this. He turned the screen toward me. An online real estate listing page was open. My address typed into the search bar. A draft listing. Bedrooms, square footage. Description already written. Dylan's profile was saved in the agent contact box. My throat tightened. They tried to list it. Ray nodded grimly. It was never published, but the draft was created. If you had been persuaded or pressured into signing anything, they could have moved quickly. I leaned back, a strange laughter escaping me, thin, exhausted. I kept telling myself they would never cross that line. Ray answered quietly. They crossed it the moment they thought they deserved what is yours. I drew a long breath. Then I want the house sold, but on my terms. I want nothing tied to them ever again. We can make that happen, Ray said. And the proceeds will go solely to you. For the first time in days, something inside me cracked open. Not pain release. The kind of release that feels like a weight slipping off your ribs after decades of carrying what was never yours to hold. I covered my face with both hands and let the tears fall. Slow, but certain. Ray did not interrupt. He simply stood beside me like someone witnessing a woman step back into her own life. I wiped my cheeks and finally whispered, "This is mine now. My choices, my plans. If I rebuild my life from the ground up, I need to understand the kind of woman I am becoming at 67. What happens when justice finally catches up to the person you love more than they ever understood?" 2 officers sat across from me in Ray's office. Their badges rested on their belts. Their notebooks already open. "Mrs. Hollander," Officer Green began. "We need your account of the attempted deed transfer and the impersonation call made to the bank." I kept my hands folded to stop them from trembling. I did not authorize anything. I did not sign anything. Someone in my home tried to take control of my property and my retirement funds. Ray slid a folder across the table. The timeline is in here. Access attempts, missing mail, the draft listing, everything. You will also find the recorded message from the daughter's partner. Officer Green nodded. We already listened to that message. It supports the coercion element. His partner, Officer Hayes, spoke next. We also ran the boyfriend's name. There are outstanding warrants related to financial misconduct. Ray leaned back. I assumed as much. Not even an hour later, my phone buzzed with a call from Caleb. "Ma," he said, breathing fast. "Dylan was arrested." They picked him up at his apartment. They found digital evidence emails. That message, and the draft deed form he filled out. I swallowed hard. And Morena, there was a pause. She has been charged as a co-conspirator. She is claiming she did not know what he was doing. But the messages say otherwise. My breath shook. I never wanted her in handcuffs. I know, Caleb murmured. But she crossed every line you gave her. You warned her. You tried. A knock sounded on the door. Ray opened it just as Caleb stepped inside. Having driven down early, he walked over and pulled me into his arms. I am here for all of it, he said quietly. The legal steps, the statements, whatever you need. I held tightly to his sleeve. Torn between grief and relief, both sharp, both honest, love does not vanish just because the truth finally surfaces. But love changes the moment the person you raised tries to pull your life out from under you. How does a single year remake a woman who finally chose herself? 1 year after everything broke open, I woke up in my small cottage near Shem Creek. The place was modest, but it was mine, bought with the proceeds from selling the old house. Every paper signed on my terms. No pressure. No voices hovering over my shoulder. No fear. I joined a local bakery program months ago, helping teach teenagers how to make simple loaves and cinnamon rolls. Miss Elyria, yours always looks perfect. They teased. I laughed every time. Perfect is never the goal. Edible is enough. Caleb visited twice a month. When he stepped into the cottage that morning, he carried a bag of flour. Figured you would need this. He said, "You figured right." I answered, "Sit. I will make us something fresh." While the dough rested, a letter slid under my door. Caleb picked it up. "It is from her," he said quietly. My hands stilled for a moment before I opened it. Mom, I am in a rehabilitation program. I had to face what I did to you. I know the charges were justified. I know I hurt you. I do not expect forgiveness. I am working on myself because I finally see the truth, not because I want anything from you. Marina Caleb watched my face. Do you want to talk about it? No, I said gently. But I am not angry anymore. He nodded and squeezed my hand. We shaped the dough together. My palms pressed softly into the warm surface, steady and sure. When the bread finished baking, I set it on the windowsill and breathed in the quiet Christmas air. Peace, real peace, settled over me, something I had not felt in decades. If you have followed my story this far, stay with me a little longer. There is strength in choosing yourself, and I hope my journey helps you choose your own. Marina now faces the consequences she earned. She will rebuild her life without my money, without access, without control. And I will live out the rest of mine with independence, dignity, and a future I decided for myself.